Companies, governments, and international bodies must act together to create the right conditions to trade to drive sustainability, resilient, and inclusive global growth after the coronavirus pandemic. The pandemic has brought into sharp both the critical and the nature of flow and essential goods and services, and the vital contribution of trade economic growth. Removing high tariffs and trade restrictions will give international trade a much needed shot in the arm. Trade has a particularly important role to play in supporting small businesses, but there is a need for greater access to finance to achieve more inclusive economic growth. The process of economic specialization and trade, in which individuals focus on doing the thing they are do best and the exchange the product of their labor with others who are likewise concentrating on their own areas of excellence, leads to much higher levels of production of goods and services, as well as the most efficient use of labor and resources. Today, the average worldwide tariff rate is less than 3% and has fallen by one third since the COVID pandemic. The United States should lead the effort to make sure this trend continues.
No trade, no vaccine. First of all, it is very important to understand that trade is vital to keep deploying vaccines broadly. There are different countries all around the world that are producing day and night the ingredients, components, tools, etc., that are needed for the application and the process of making the COVID-19 vaccines. For example, the top exporters of the main ingredients are Mexico, Ireland, Germany, China, Turkey, Switzerland, and Italy. And the top exporters of needles used in the application of the vaccines are China, United States, and Mexico. But the top three exporters that can be able to gather all of these tools and ingredients are only China, the United States, and Germany. We are all aware that all the countries are needing vaccines right now, but not all of them are able to produce their own. And that's where the difficult part enters, because we do not have enough vaccines for the population. And the supply chain in this case is everything. The transportation of vaccines is in fact very complex and it involves many steps. But the manufacturing of these vaccines is located only in a few countries, as I said. And that's why so many countries are depending of the main countries that are producing the whole process. What the government can do is keeping markets open, reducing tariffs, avoid export restrictions, and we as a team think that streamlining procedures at borders must be obligatory by now, and of course ensuring a better logistics coordination.
We can clearly see how important it is for science to have no borders with the development of the COVID-19 vaccine. The development of several effective vaccines in less than 1 year underlines what can be achieved to cross-border research and collaboration. The science and innovation response to COVID-19 has been a largely international effort, reflecting a steady growth of international science, technology, and innovation collaboration in the recent decades. Public-private partnerships have increased in response to COVID-19. Public researchers, businesses, governments, and philanthropic organizations have come together to work on developing various countermeasures, vaccines, therapeutics, and diagnostics. The World Health Organization plays an important role in these efforts, while various specialized global research partnerships coordinate and implement research and finance initiatives, most visibly in pursuit of the COVID-19 vaccines. The international response to COVID-19, although not free of difficulties, has offered renewed hope to international cooperation, and it shows that we can all provide solutions to help other global challenges.
Okay, so now I'm going to speak a little bit about the vaccine supply chain. So to kick off, the step one is discovery and development. It is important to point out that after initial development, the vaccines go through three phases. of clinical trials. But in this case, since the urge of the pandemic to be solved, these three phases, these three clinical trials have been set the three at a time. So this is why the clinical trials have been so fast, and also the results of the vaccine. And it is important to notice that there hasn't been a trial phase that has been skipped throughout this period. And also it is important to notice that the US government has invested, as well as other countries, substantial resources for both manufacturing and distributing the COVID-19 vaccines. And since the clinical trials, there has been also huge manufacturing of the vaccines. So and it is also important to notice that the FDA authorized these vaccines really quickly. Well, in the cases of Pfizer and Moderna, which both are from the US. So step 2 is mass production. So as I explained before, the early stages of the clinical trials, since they were so fast, they were parallel to the manufacturing of the vaccines. So this is why they have produced the vaccines since the beginning, and that's why they have been doing a great job mass producing the vaccines. So according to Fierce Pharma, for example, in the case of Pfizer, they became the first vaccine maker to earn the FDA emergency use authorization in 2020. And here is where the international business and global trade forms a huge and important role. And that is why it's very important. For example, Pfizer partnered up with BioNTech, which is a German pharmaceutical company. So without their help, they wouldn't be able to mass produce their vaccines both in the US and in Europe. And since they are also in BioNTech, they have facilitated the distribution of the vaccine in Europe. And second, it's the case of Moderna. Moderna was the second vaccine which won the US authorization after Pfizer. And they have also created a global partnership with a Swiss pharmaceutical company, which is Lonza. And Lonza helped produce the Moderna vaccine also. And they have also facilitated the distribution and production of this vaccine in Europe. So without this international connectivity, it would be really hard to solve this issue that is going on around the world. And the third case would be the AstraZeneca. This is a British pharmaceutical company. And it is really interesting to see what AstraZeneca have done, since they have made a plan with 15 countries, spanning 25 separate manufacturing sites. And the vaccine produced by AstraZeneca supply chains is typically country origin specific. So it is really interesting what AstraZeneca have done, especially in the region of South America and Central America, in which they have made huge agreements with Argentina and Mexico to mass produce this product and to generate that trade between Argentina to make the distribution of the AstraZeneca vaccine within South America and Central America. And they have also set, I think it was a $261 million investment in Baltimore, Maryland, in the United States, so they can produce the vaccine also in America.
COVID-19 vaccine distribution is particularly tricky for a number of reasons. There are three main challenges in the distribution of this vaccine. The first one is the cold chain capacity. This is one of the most important factors in the distribution of any vaccine, because without the right temperature, any vaccine will be useless. There is a special challenge with the Pfizer vaccine, because this vaccine needs to be stored at -70 degrees Celsius. which is something the supply chain is not used to, because most of the vaccines are stored at around 4 degrees Celsius. The second challenge is the last mile delivery. Last mile delivery, special to rural and remote healthcare facilities, is a complex problem. Up-to-date data on weather, road conditions, road traffic, and specific information is needed. Data that is outdated can make the difference between a community that has a viable vaccine and one that doesn't. The third challenge is storage. Storage will be complicated, especially in parts of South America, Asia, and Africa. Not only is the climate hotter in these areas, but there may be not enough infrastructure for the storage of the large amount of vaccines that are needed and the conditions they need.
Why does vaccine cooperation matters? Well, as we all know, it is a worldwide virus that has affected each country. That's why it is important for countries to stay together and fight COVID-19, because each country has its own technology advances and found different solutions to attack the virus, such as different vaccines that are being renovated. And if we reunite all the different solutions found by each country, we can create one that is strong enough to eliminate the virus without having problems of a new one. And on the other hand, of course, richer countries have more possibility to buy vaccines or to have access to these vaccines than other countries. And these richer countries could help other countries to supply the vaccines and help to put an end to this pandemic and this COVID-19 that it's been a problem for a worldwide problem